Oh, it's like a Rockman. Welcome back to the channel. I'm Ronquillo. If you're new here, thanks for joining me. Today we're going to be checking out something new from our friends at 2Notes. Now, if you're not familiar with 2Notes, they make excellent load box and cab sim hardware, and most recently amp and cab sim devices. And I've been using the 2Notes load boxes and cab sims exclusively for almost a decade now. And I think they've really been at the forefront of cab modeling technology. And now they've just come out with their new software plugin, GENOME, which is their all-in-one guitar rig software that includes things like virtual amps, cabs, effects, studio processing, and more. So today we're going to check it all out, talk about some of the features and how it all works. Okay, so I have the plugin loaded into my Logic session. Now at the time of this filming, this is an early version of the plugin, and it didn't come with default presets, but I did, along with some of my cohorts, contribute to some artist presets, which I actually have loaded up, and we're going to check some of them out. But I have one of my presets that I made loaded up so we can at least hear and kind of see what's going on in this plugin. This is called 80s LA Lead, and it sounds like this. So looking at the plugin right now, it has a very simple layout and it's very intuitive just by looking at it. At the very top row, you'll see all of these blocks, which are locations where you can open up any element of the plugin, whether it's an amplifier, cabinet, all the effects, and you can kind of drag them, I believe, in any position that you want. So in the signal chain that I have for this 80s LA Lead preset, real quickly, I've got a studio compressor at the very front. I've got the Ultra Drive, which is, visually looks much like one of my favorite Boss pedals. The amp section, which we're going to get into in depth in just a second. I've got the Nifty 50, which is very, high gain, metal sounding, very modern sounding. And then you've got their cab selections, which I have a British vintage C412. And then post-processing, I've got a studio chorus, which, me, I love chorus. Studio delay, as well as some reverb and an enhancer or studio exciter. So at the time of this filming, I wasn't able to get my hands on a proper manual, so a lot of the things I'm going to be talking about might be very new to me. So we're going to be checking this all out together and learning how it works together. I kind of learned the basics, but there's some other features that I haven't checked out, and I guess we're going to learn about this plugin together. So let's check out some of the amps that they have here. Now, like I said, you can put it anywhere on this signal chain line. I usually like to start with it in the middle, so I have space up front and space after it to add different effects and processing. Now, if we check out the drop-down amp menu, there's a lot of amps here that I haven't even seen yet, so we'll check them out together. Let's start with the Aviator. Now, usually I can tell visually what these amps are based on. They do a really good job with the design in this plugin. The Aviator, I'm not sure what this, it kind of looks like a Dr. Z. Okay, so I did a little bit of Googling, and it turns out that the Aviator amp is actually their bass amp, or one of their bass amps, a modern style bass amp. Going here to the Albion. Now this is coming from what I know from the Opus device that I demoed recently. So this obviously looks like a Marshall Plexi. The Eldorado looks like Soldano to me. Flatback. This looks very Mesa rectifier. Flatback 5. This look possibly a Mesa Mark 5. Foundry bass. Now I think Foundry is kind of like their Fendery thing, so this could be just like a Fender bass amp or maybe a Bassman. Foundry guitar is going to be like your Fender style amp. Foxy, obviously based on a Vox. Gemini. This looks very much like a blackface Bassman. Nifty 50, we already saw. I believe this is based on like a 5150 or like a PV type of Eddie Van Halen modern high gain amp. Peggy is going to be like an Ampeg bass amp. You could probably plug in a guitar in it and get some cool sounds as well. Tanger, like tangerine, based on like an orange, I'd say like a rocker verb. TSM power amp. Now this is going to be just the power amp stage of an amplifier, and you can choose between 6L6s, EL34s, EL84, KT88s, some other options. So you can put this in pairing with like a preamp, or shape the output stage or the power amp stage of your signal. And something that I did skip over is this Codex. So this is, I believe, like the profiler in this plugin. So this is actually, if you go to the drop-down menu, these are like profiles, I guess, or snapshots of other amps. So looking at some of these menu items, you've got something called an Angle Blackmore. To me, that says Engel, which is a great high gain amp. A bunch of Brit models, which is probably going to be like a Marshall type of suite. Cali B Deluxe, that's going to be more of the Fendery stuff. B-Man, Bassman, Twin. It's a good challenge to like figure out the naming of certain things. Here's a clone pedal, so there's like a profile of just a clone pedal, I guess, that you could probably put in front of one of the other amps. Match point 30 could be like a matchless. So you do have, the models that Two Notes provides, as well as the ability to add some different profiles to it, which is really cool. So let's check out some of the other elements within this plugin. Obviously, I've got a drive pedal here. You've got some delays. You've got some studio delays. Let's go to the drives and see what they have available. So I'm in the Ultra Drive, which, like I said, is based on kind of like a Boss SD1 possibly. Green Meanie. You got your Tube Screamer. Vermin. It's going to be like a Rat distortion pedal. D250. That looks like a DOD overdrive preamp if you want to get your Yngwie on. They do have a Klon model. Klonotar. Raunch Maker is going to be like your Marshall Blues Breaker, as well as a Big Fuzz, kind of like a Big Muff. And that's just the drive pedals. Dynamic Studio Compressor, which I already have in the front there. I don't know why I just put it there. This is different. V1 volume pedal. 7-band EQ pedal. One for guitar, one for bass. And then you've got Studio EQ, which now generally you would put something like this at the end, but there's no rule saying you can't put, pedals at the end of your chain and, the studio processing in the front. So you can do it however you want to lay everything out. Studio Enhancer, which is going to, help you shape your tone at the end. Studio Exciter, I already have that at the end as well. Modulation, but they got a chorus, flange, tremolo, vibrato, phaser. Just visually, they all kind of look like the same layout, which is really nice. Reverbs, there's one reverb for the whole plugin, and it's kind of all you need. Tons of control, tons of tweaking as far as like the EQ and the gain, the reverb size. It's really all you need. And then this one, which is really cool, I'll show you in another plugin that I made, Studio Twin Tracker. You can make it sound like kind of like two guitars, or you can make it almost sound like a chorus, or depending on how you set it, you can make it sound really wide. And then they include Torpedo Post Effects, which comes from their Wall of Sound app, which is used for the load boxes and cab sims that I've used many times. I know I've been talking a lot, and before I talk more and get more in depth into all of these different features, let us just check out some of these artist presets. Now here's a preset that I made with that twin tracker that I was talking about, the stereo width. And real quickly, I just have the Albion loaded up. I have a Raunch Maker that's not on. As far as the cabs go. Now, the plugin does come with some stock cabs, but if you're like me and you've bought additional cabs from the Two Note store, you can obviously load them on. But going back to the stereo width pedal, I really like this a lot. You have control over the balance, so if I want it more to the left side, Or the other side, kind of put it right in the middle. And the tightness kind of controls the width. So at 0, it should be going straight through the middle. And hopefully you're listening with headphones or really nice speakers. But if I tweak it all the way, it gets less tight and it's more, spread as well as kind of delayed. So, finding, 50-50. And here's with it off so you can hear the difference. Let's check out some of my friend's presets here. Nielsen, I believe, is my good friend Michael Nielsen. Big Hairy Guitars. He always has some really good tones. What's Headbangers? So this preset, he used the Codex module, which is modeling, I guess, a Spawn high gain amp, which Splawn maybe? I don't know. Here's one that he named New No Bet on Court. Let's try something in the clean territory. Now, I did something called 80s clean. Now, something I did interestingly is I split the signal after the reverb to go to 2 different delays, which is kind of what they did in the 80s before they had true stereo delays. But if you click on the dot in between the boxes, you can split it, which is really cool to do. Like you could split it, 2 amps to 2, or split 1 amp to 2 cabs, or what have you. And I did it to 2 different delays. One is set at 450 and one is set at 900, so double. And I have it panned. JLJ, that must be my friend J. Leonard J. Big Fuzzy Power Chord. Nice. So he used the stereo width effect as well. That's probably one of my favorite modules. And like all good plugins, there is a tuner included. Let's try the Codex. Like I said, this is kind of like the amp profile section. And let's try Angle Blackmore Grit. Ew. Like I said, this is just a model of an amp without the speaker cab. Here we go. Go with that. Now within the profiles, you've got some options here: neutral, warm, and bright. So it's almost like having a bright switch on the amp. And you can adjust, the gain, EQ, and volume of the profile, just like if it was a real amp. And you also have control over the post EQ, kind of like a Mesa Boogie amp, which is really cool. So if I wanted to dip the mids and go super metal. Low cut if I want to take all of the bass out. Enhancer. Can blend it in, that's pretty cool. We were talking about this option of using the TSM power amp, which is just the power amp section, right? And then you could probably pair it with profile of just a preamp, like the Rocket Man high gain pre. No idea what this is. So if I turn off this, which is the power amp, actually sounds pretty good without any. Yeah, it kind of gives it a little bit of fullness with the TSM power amp. So in essence, I'm kind of running a Rockman through like a Marshall power amp with EL34s. Now, the true test is putting some chorus. That's already automatically looking very Rockman, sounding very Rockman. Studio reverb. Oh, come on. This is totally Rockman. And with more control, which is really, really cool. So, you know how traditionally a Rockman used by guys like Tom Scholz, Joe Satriani, and Def Leppard has a very focused, narrow, almost nasally tone. If you want to start with that as kind of like, you know, your starting ground, but you want to make it sound a little better to your ears, whether it's, you know, add some more frequencies or brighten it up, you can with this plugin, which is really cool. What if I wanted more bass? Well, I could turn it up here, I could turn it up in the EQ, or I could just use the enhancer. Or the thickness. Without it. So it sounds even more aggressive. Or maybe I want to turn on the gain. Now for something a little less high gain, let's check out the Foxy and pair it with a nice 212 Voice 30. Let's put on the studio reverb at the end. So like I said, the amp controls are all the same for all the amps. So in a traditional Vox amp, you're not going to have the same controls, and you're going to have like a top boost knob and everything. So this is just going to make it a little easier for you to tweak all your amp settings when you know when they all have the same controls. Let's use this as a nice pedal platform amp. So the Green Meanie off. let's skip to the vermin, the rat pedal. The clon. I think everyone wants to hear the clon. The Foundry guitar is going to be now. Let's check out the clon. I always like clon pedals kind of for like a low gain type of thing. The Raunch Maker. And finally, let's check out the Big Fuzz. So I want to check out some other presets. Some other artist presets. This one is by JG. This is Rainy Day Clean, and I like how it's 2 amps. He's got a Foundry and the Albion kind of parallel. Then he's got delay, reverb, EQ, like a compressor at the end. This is a cool one. Lo-fi Nostalgia. We've got a vibrato and we've got a chorus. We've got 2 amps. We've got the Foundry as well as a profile of a Cali B Deluxe, so like a Blackface Deluxe. Delay, which is not on, but reverb, EQ, and some compression. Humphreys, Judgment Day, going into the Nifty 50. Ooh. Here's something by, I believe, Tom Quayle. This is his Ambient and Wide preset. All right, guys, there you have it. That's the new 2 Notes GENOME plugin. If you guys have any comments or questions, please leave them down below. Thanks again to 2 Notes for letting me check it out. And if you'd like to see more videos like this, gear demos or guitar lessons, click that subscribe button. Thanks again for watching. I'm RJ Ronquillo, and I'll see you in the next video.